Those lucky enough to have secured a PlayStation 5 will no doubt be seeking ways to show off the new hardware's power. Sadly, exclusives for Sony's next-gen system are currently quite scarce, and understandably will be for the immediate future. But luckily, several last-gen games have received significant upgrades which sees them play smoother and better than ever before. These are the titles we'll be ranking for this list today. And before we start, just one important rule. For a game to be included, it specifically must be a PS4 title enhanced for PS5, and not just ported to the new console. This means that games like Control Ultimate Edition or Marvel's Spider-Man Remastered, which have been given dedicated next-gen versions, don't make the cut. So, with that out of the way, be sure to subscribe to the channel, and here's our picks for the 10 best PS4 games now enhanced for PlayStation 5.
Hey, there's something strange over there. Come on, let's take a look.
One of 2020's biggest surprise hits was a free-to-play title styled in the same vein as Breath of the Wild. Genshin Impact is an open-world JRPG with endless sights to see and many characters to play as. It ran perfectly fine on last-gen consoles, yet on PlayStation 5 it lets players enjoy improved graphics and much faster load times, both of which only aid your ability to invest in rich, colourful characters and a sprawling world. These enhancements have been there to experience since launch, so there's no excuse not to enjoy Genshin Impact to its fullest. Monster Hunter came back in a big way in 2018, with World fully taking advantage of the PS4 and Xbox One's power after being exclusive to handheld systems for the longest time. No longer would you hit a load screen when chasing a monster between areas, with full HD visuals bringing you closer to the world and online play being seamless. The PlayStation 5's SSD makes this even more of a reality, wiping away nearly all load times to a near instant and featuring much smoother action. Days Gone failed to impress many people when it first released in 2018. It didn't do anything particularly poorly per se, yet most critics found its lead protagonist quite unlikable and the need to constantly fuel your bike an annoying mechanic. The PS5 boosted version makes both these elements a little more bearable however, seeing the game run at a dynamic 4K resolution and 60 frames per second simultaneously. This helps give Sony Ben's zombie-infused open world em-up a faster sense of pace, truly letting players immerse themselves within the beauty of post-apocalyptic Oregon. Now for an odd one. The Last Guardian is technically enhanced for PlayStation 5, but in its current state it's a tad unofficial. That's because Team Ico's latest hasn't in fact received extra dev time to get it looking better, it's just that the natural SSD boost provided by the PS5 sees its frame rate doubled from 30 frames per second to 60 frames per second. This is providing you have a physical copy and can play it unpatched. You may have to suffer through the odd hitch and glitch that was still there at launch, yet this is an example of where a faster frame rate works better for immersion. Hopefully one day Team Ico will see sense in making the digital version playable at the same frame rate, especially since that's the version included in the PlayStation Plus collection. The long-awaited Final Fantasy XV was a bit of a muddled mess at launch, eventually growing to become a much better game via various post-launch patches and additional DLC that made more sense of the story. This complete package eventually became known as Final Fantasy XV Royal Edition, which is now readily available as part of the PlayStation Plus collection and plays a lot better thanks to several PS5 performance upgrades. When run in the light mode, the game can be played in a locked 60 frames per second from start to finish, much more impressive than even the PS4 Pro version of the game. Most well-known performance issues like excessive loading times have now also been ironed out, making this the ideal way to play Final Fantasy XV.
We paused before a house that seemed a swelling of the ground.
The third entry into Square Enix's rebooted Tomb Raider trilogy is widely thought of as the black sheep of the family, but it still serves as a satisfying conclusion to Lara's fight against Trinity. On PlayStation 4 Pro, the game had a performance mode that offered 60 frames per second, but this was still known to regularly dip below that. However, thanks to the additional oomph of PlayStation 5, that's no longer the case, and despite developer Eidos Montreal not releasing an official patch, adventuring through Central America has never looked better than on PlayStation 5. The previous generation's one good single-player Star Wars game received a surprise PS5 patch last month, making Cal Kestis' journey to take down Darth Vader's Inquisitors even more shiny. The game looked great before, but now by booting up the PS4 version on PlayStation 5, players can look forward to a silky 60 frames per second and a locked 1200p resolution with some 1440p post-processing. It might not quite be true 4K, but it is a vast improvement over the PS4 Pro's two modes, which offered upscaled 4K and 60 frames per second, but not together at the same time. Needless to say, the PlayStation 5 version is the path to becoming a true Jedi.
You can't save them.
Ghost of Tsushima didn't release on PlayStation 4 all that long ago, but already PS5 owners yet to play Sucker Punch's samurai set action game have the ability to enjoy a premium experience. Whereas before it ran at 30 frames per second, which admittedly really helped lend it that filmic quality that the developer was going for, on PlayStation 5 its frame rate is now doubled, acting as a simple yet super effective enhancement that makes combat and exploration appear much smoother. Combine this with the Ghost of Tsushima Legends co-op mode released post-launch, and now the PS5 is the absolute best way to play Ghost of Tsushima.
Here we go!
Look at my drip.
A looter shooter like Borderlands 3 lives or dies on its ability to provide players with smooth first-person gunplay. And while 60 frames per second was available on PS4 to ensure this was the case, the game can now run at this at a full 4K resolution when played on PS5. And better yet, the game now also supports better quality shadows, faster load times, and more dense foliage for in-game areas that feature it. Two-player vertical split screen has now also been made possible as Borderlands 3 takes full advantage of next-gen's extra power. God of War 2018 was already a brilliant game, but those on a base PlayStation 4 could only experience its epicness at a serviceable 30 frames per second. It actually received a significant boost on PS5 from launch day, but now Sony Santa Monica have made the performance improvements official by releasing a true next-gen patch. This will now see Kratos and Atreus' Nordic adventure play out at a smooth 60 frames per second and at a 4K checkerboard resolution, which to me and you is code for around 2160p. Knowing this now, we envy PS5 players who will get to experience God of War 2018 for the first time like this. Ares!
Wow, that was something, that fight.
And that just about sums it up. Hopefully, we've given you more ways to take your PS5 for a spin visually before the proper next-gen exclusives start to arrive. Be sure to subscribe to the channel and like this video if you want to see more from Console Deals, but until next time, happy gaming!